What's going on, WrestleTalk friends and fans? I don't really have a fun way of introducing this episode, of course. This is my first time being on camera since learning about the passing of Brodie Lee, or John Huber, and I figured I would just try and properly express what the last week has meant to me. I was not someone who was fortunate enough to know John Huber personally. I knew people who did know him personally, and from talking to them, I can totally understand that not knowing John was to my personal detriment. Everyone in wrestling that has had any kind of experience with Brodie Lee has come out better for it. And I think that speaks to him as a man, and it speaks to the kind of legacy that he will leave behind. It's crazy to think about something as insignificant as wrestling during a time like this where such loss is being felt on such a real level by so many people, but it really does go to show that over the last year in AEW, John Huber showed the potential that he always had being realized, and that to me, it's still special. Getting to see Brodie Lee compete in AEW and make such an impact and show the kind of talent that everyone always knew that he had, it puts a smile on my face. And hopefully, we can look back at his time in wrestling as a bit of a window to help us connect with someone that we wouldn't know otherwise. This one sucks, man. This one's really, really tough. There's no proper way to segue out of something like this, so let's move on to what else we have to talk about. So, of course, this is the WrestleTalk recap, where I talk about the news and notes in the week in professional wrestling and break down anything that you may have missed on all of WrestleTalk's YouTube channels. And of course, as we reach the end of 2020 and have moved into 2021, there is a considerable amount of content that breaks down everything from the prior year in pro wrestling. We talked a little bit about it last week, but over on WrestleTalk's main channel, you can check out the full podcast breakdowns of the best wrestler of the year, the best pay-per-views of the year, and the best matches of the year, all presented by Luke Owen.
At number 9, with 10 points ahead of it, in fact, Kazuchika Okada versus Kota Ibushi from Night 1 of Wrestle Kingdom. At number 8, the Men's Royal Rumble, that got itself 26 points. Inner Circle versus the Elite from Double or Nothing, the Stadium Stampede.
Not nearly enough New Japan content for my liking, but hey, I only get one vote. Normally, this would be the part of the show where I would break down what the match of the week and show of the week would be, although that seems just out of place right now. So rather than highlighting a show of the week, I'll just tell you that you need to go and watch AEW Dynamite from this week, the celebration of life for Brodie Lee, John Huber. This was a particularly touching and emotional tribute show, as members of the Dark Order competed in every match on the card, while members of the AEW roster gave their thoughts and recalled stories about Mr. Brodie Lee. We of course also had the AEW debut of Eric Redbeard, the former Eric Rowan, who broke down while holding a sign saying that he would see his brother Brodie Lee down the road. Again, this is one of the most emotional nights I've ever had watching wrestling, and it is a show that everybody should go out of their way to watch. Switching gears now to move over to all the other shows that happened this week, we had Monday Night Raw, which featured Keith Lee defeating Sheamus to become the #1 contender for Drew McIntyre's WWE Championship. Their match, of course, will take place next week on Legends Night, but that wasn't the only thing that happened on Raw this week, as Randy Orton was goaded into setting a small woman on fire. Doesn't get more pro wrestling than that, does it? Thankfully, of course, Alexa Bliss was not set on fire, similar to The Fiend at TLC, but we will just have to keep waiting and seeing what comes next in this bizarre storyline. Oh, and The Miz got his Money in the Bank briefcase again. Whoopoo! I really don't like The Miz. On NXT this week, we had the latest match between Johnny Gargano and Leon Ruff for the NXT North American Championship. Gargano was finally able to get the pinfall win over Leon Ruff in a singles match, presumably putting this rivalry to bed. And Leon Ruff really didn't get much out of that one. And over on SmackDown, you had the new Intercontinental Champion Big E running headfirst into the brick wall that is known as King Corbin. I don't know why they keep feeding these new up-and-coming baby faces to Baron Corbin. I don't understand. I don't get it. What's the positive? What's the thought process? And of course, Kevin Owens was sent through a table by Roman Reigns, and WWE.com has said that Kevin Owens suffered a spinal contusion as well as bruised kidneys. Really getting 2021 off on the right foot there, eh, Kevin? So just as we saw last week on the WrestleTalk recap, there is an abundance of end-of-the-year lists that we need to get through. The topics covered in this week's list were 10 wrestling storylines that massively backfired.
Wrestling is sometimes a story of balance. Yin and yang, light and dark. For every Roman Reigns versus Jey Uso, there's a man throwing urine in another man's face.
The 10 most explosive shoot interviews of 2020, featuring our own Louis Dangor.
We begged for 2 years for a release from WWE. And I'm not saying that with any bitterness. We begged for a release from WWE because of this match.
10 AEW rumors that may happen in 2021.
The other big shocking moment from Winter is Coming was the AEW debut of Sting. He showed up the following week and teased the idea that we could get matches between him and Cody Rhodes and the new face of TNT in Darby Allin, who has been called Emo Sting by many people since he debuted in AEW, present company included.
The complete list of WWE stars released in 2020 and where they are now.
Aiden English was released and is currently a free agent. Kurt Hawkins got cut and is now in Impact as Brian Myers, as is Deonna Purrazzo in EC3, who is also doing work with Ring of Honor. Dan Mather is currently a free agent, as are Epico and his brother Primo Colon, whereas Eric Young became Impact World Champion and had a brilliant title match against Rich Swann at Bound for Glory.
And of course, Adam Blampier's list of his 10 favorite wrestling matches of 2020.
That's right, 2020. Off you pop, you malodorous, feculent dickhead. Happy New Year, everyone. May your year be filled with joy, 2 vaccinations, and a bit more bloody social contact than the last 10 hellhole months.
The written versions of all of these lists can also be found over on WrestleTalk.com, so make sure you check out the website for all of your written content. As far as our other channels this week, Wrestle2 featured their end-of-year awards with all of the hosts Stephanie Chase, Alex McCarthy, SP3, and of course Louis Dangor, breaking down who they thought earned the awards for every different category this year. And of course, you have the best of compilations for the end of the year. You have the best of WrestleTalk and best of Quizlemania.
I'm now back on the proper stream again. Proper stream again.
Oh my god! No!
Yes, that's right, bitches.
He just called himself!
And coming up this week, we have Quizlemania 25. The 25th anniversary of Quizlemania, if you will. Wink. Man, I won the Quizlemania championship like 2 months ago, and I've defended it once. I need more challengers, man. Come on. Let's go. I want it. Bring it on. And of course, right here on Wrestle2, January 4th and January 5th, Wrestle Kingdom 15, New Japan Pro Wrestling's biggest and best show of the year. We're going to be doing live reactions. It'll be me and Sonal Lad riding together again as we break down everything that happens on New Japan's grandest stage. You could very easily see the best match of the year right here at the beginning of January, and you'll want to watch our reactions as we take you through all of the action. And that just about wraps it up for another edition of the WrestleTalk Recap. I've been 2Title Tempest, reminding you to like, share, and subscribe to stay notified, and follow us on Instagram and Twitter. Our Instagram is at WrestleTalk.official. Our Twitter is at WrestleTalk_TV. You can follow me on Twitter at TempestWT, and I will see you next time, where I'm hopefully still Quizlemania champion.